Hello, good evening. Welcome to Business Live, everyone. Coming up tonight, Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors justifies failure by oil marketing companies to reduce fuel prices significantly despite sharp drop in crude oil prices on the international market. Also tonight, Ghana Hotels Association welcomes any stimulus package from government and hints of some hotels closing down as a result of the coronavirus outbreak. Also on the way, air cargo volumes at the Kotoka International Airport witnessed a dip in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. It's been 25 years of supporting your business. Great to have you as company tonight. My name is Darryl Kwa. We've got details coming up right after this break. While the coronavirus outbreak has had an impact on crude oil prices, and despite a significant drop on the international market, oil marketing companies in the country have not reduced their prices on petroleum products as expected by consumers. Now, justifying this development, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Senior Hosi, blamed the cost of storage and insurance being paid by oil marketing companies for this development. According to him, though prices have dropped significantly, these cost elements, which constitute about 60% of the total price build-up, remain high. There's more in the following report.
Since the beginning of the year, crude oil prices have seen a persistent decline on the international market but has not reflected on the local downstream sector. As a result, consumers continue to push for a further reduction in petroleum prices. At a press briefing in Accra, Chief Executive of the Bulk Oil Distributors, Senior Hosi, disclosed the oil marketing firms are using the opportunity to recover the lost margins recorded in previous years. According to him, the reduction in the international prices of crude is not reflecting locally because other cost factors have not changed.
The supplier has been, the OMC has been shortchanged for 6 months, and OMC is gradually reducing so that he can also recover a bit of it, as you can see from the February point. Okay, that's if you are benchmarking the seaboard fair market price. Because you can't have somebody always in that below the red line. When they stay eternally below the red line, very soon that company is collapsing. What technically you are seeing them do is that, okay, when prices are supposed to go up, we don't really go up. We just keep it about the same. We keep it about the same. Now that it's come down so quickly, we won't also go down so quickly. We'll go down much slowly so that we can make gains to cover a bit of the holes in the past.
He, however, cautioned consumers to be measured in their expectations.
Between the BDC and the OMCs, prices are more real-time than OMCs and consumers. Well, everybody can see the price have dropped, but I bought the thing yesterday. I bought it at $600. Today, what I'm holding is $550. I will have to pay $600. I'm not going to pay $550 because I bought it at $600. My supplier will collect $600. Don't say today it has come, so I'll give you a discount. It won't happen. So when things are dropping like that, you're also having a major risk. We call it backwardation. But in the same vein, when it's also going up, you're also getting an advantage depending on when you buy. And that is part of the job of a BDC.
The Chamber is urging government to reduce its intervention in the pricing of petroleum products since the country is practicing a deregulated market policy.
Meanwhile, African countries expect to lose more than $110 billion over the next 3 months as a result of the outbreak of the deadly coronavirus. According to the African Energy Chamber, the situation will impact significantly on local producers and government taxes from the oil and gas sector. The South Africa-based Energy Chamber is therefore urging oil-producing countries on the continent to grant some tax waivers to exploration companies to help them revive their operations.
The African Energy Chamber is urging African countries engaged in petroleum operations and other local service companies to find ways to relieve the burden on exploration programs and local companies. At present, Africa stands to lose over $110 billion in taxes, petroleum exports, jobs and contracts to local companies over the next 3 months. The Chamber says extensions are needed to ensure these companies maintain success in the short term while calling on OPEC member states to immediately engage with the leaders of Saudi Arabia and Russia to ensure that oil markets are not oversupplied. It also asks African governments to consider imposing immediate cancellations or postponements of tax payments for a period of up to 3 months as a possible solution to these growing issues. This, the African Energy Chamber believes, will help employers pay employees and improve their liquidity and also reduce some of the losses in revenue while preventing job losses. Should the current price war continue, many marginal field producers will likely go out of business, exploration programs will be halted, licensing rounds will fail, and the oil majors will have to make difficult decisions to scale back operations.
Now, central banks across the world have stepped up emergency efforts to calm financial markets and support the economies in a series of market losses as more of the world shuts down to contain the coronavirus outbreak. From the Federal Reserve to the European Central Bank, ECB, several measures are being put in place to ensure economies are supported. What are some of these measures that have been taken globally, and what is the situation in Ghana? Joining me in studio, Philip Namfori, for some analysis. Before you go to the chats to give us an idea what's happening, why do we need to inject some stimulus at this time we are facing a crisis with coronavirus?
Darryl, thank you very much. So there's a high level of uncertainty, anxiety, there's fear, there's worry. Businesses are not getting what they usually get in terms of customers, revenues, profit lines. Everybody's in a state of pandemonium. I just lost that word right there.
Pandemonium.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And because of that, everybody wants to take a seat back. We're hearing of hotels wanting to shut down. So there's no money coming in and out. And how are these companies going to get back up and running again when this virus subsides? So we need some sort of liquidity in the system, something to prop up these companies and help them move on and forward in these trying times. That's why the central banks are stepping in. And I put together 9 different, I'll call them infographics, with a chart at the end to show what's going on the global level. I want us to start with the first one. That looks at what the Federal Reserve in America is doing. That's the central bank. And then the European Central Bank, that's the central bank for the EU countries also. So let's have a look at that one first. That tells us how much they are doing in terms of what they are putting in. So we can see that the European Central Bank is going to pump in about 750 billion euros. That's about 820 billion. And the Federal Reserve has done some already in cutting its rates and also going to pump in more money to ensure that companies have something to fall back on softer terms to prop up movement in the economy. Apart from the European Central Bank and the Federal Reserve, the other banks are also doing other things in other parts of the world. I want us to take the next one. That's my number 3. That looks at what's happening in Australia. And you can see right there, the Reserve Bank of Australia cut its benchmark interest rates by 25 basis points to 0.25% Thursday and ventured into quantitative easing, which is simply pumping in more money into the economy with plans to purchase government bonds. Let's move on to the next one again to see what's going on in other parts of the world. And then the next one has to do with Japan and South Korea. They're also on their own bond buying sprees. Essentially, what they're going to do is purchase bonds from companies and from the government. So invariably, they are going to pump the money in. And and let us call these governments or these entities, giving them paper. So in some few months or years to come, they'll have to make good by paying back these central banks. So now central banks are giving these governments and institutions money. Now let's move on to the next one. And all this is sourced from the Bloomberg website and a story there. We also have the Philippines, which has also been hit by the coronavirus. Its central bank has also cut its benchmark rates by bigger than usual 50 basis points Thursday, while Indonesia and Taiwan followed with 25 points reductions each. I want us to take the next one. So we've seen the Federal Reserve in the US, we've seen the ECB, we've seen Japan, we've seen Korea, we've seen Philippines, Indonesia. Yeah, so the global picture in terms of countries beyond Africa. Now look at Nigeria and look at what they're also doing. $2.7 billion for us. Somebody asked me earlier on that, is this a match to $100 million that we can't even
I had
find?
that in mind. I wanted to ask myself.
I know, right? So that's what they also plan to do. The central bank is also planning to put in $2.7 billion. Let's see what is next in terms of the information that we have here?
South Africa.
Yes, they are expected to ease rates later, and I'm sure by now it's been done. This was put together somewhere in the morning, so by now that has been done. So we've seen global picture, we've seen Africa, Nigeria, and South Africa.
How about Ghana?
Very good. Let's come to Ghana. Ghana is the next one in there. I hope Ghana is the next one in there. So Ghana is the next one in there. So we've seen our MPCO, so that's the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana, cut its monetary policy rate by 150 basis points to 14.5%, amidst other measures such as the reduction in the reserve requirements, which means that what banks hold on, when you go and make a deposit, the banks are supposed to keep 10% of that for liquidity reasons. Now they've cut it down to 8%. So that means more money for companies to borrow. But we are praying that this transmission mechanism, that's the flow from the central banks through the banks to you and I, actually works so that things come into play. But Darryl, I have one important thing. It's a global, let me call it map of what's going on.
But before you go to a global map, I mean, we've seen a policy rate cut. Do you expect that government will inject some monies into the system?
Darryl, for that, it's hard to say, because given our precarious financial position, I don't know whether we have the wherewithal to inject such amounts of money into the economy. But I want us to look at that chart again, or that map. Yes. And this shows that this week already, there have been 30 interest rate cuts across the economy, or across the world. Central banks are doing their bit. And if you look at the color coding, the pink ones reflect unscheduled rate cuts. And if you look, Ghana is in there for an unscheduled rate cut, because we are planning to do the MPC from 18th to 20th and come up with a press conference on Monday. And all of a sudden, boom, they came up with their rate cut. And you see it's across the world. Australia has it, some in the Middle East has it, the Asian countries, even in the US, unscheduled rate cuts. So you see the coronavirus is having a very dastardly impact on things in the economy. And it's not only central banks that need to help. We need the fiscal authorities, like what Trump is doing in the US. We're pumping in money for his workers. If Ghana can hand out some cash to us, it will be well and good for us.
Because we're hearing that the Trump administration is even trying to inject some $1 trillion as stimulus, so the 700 doesn't seem enough, does it?
No. So you need a complement of both. You need both the monetary authorities, that are the central banks, and then the fiscal authorities, that's the government's parts, doing its best. But I hope it doesn't get out of hand right here in Ghana, in Africa at large.
And there'll be much more on this, the economic impact of this outbreak on PM Express later tonight. Yeah. Just 30 seconds, what to expect?
More analysis from top men with regards to both the banking aspects and the economic aspects. So I would urge our viewers and listeners to tune in at 9 p.m.
All right, that's at 9 p.m. I'll be watching. Thank you very much indeed, Philip Namfori. So like I indicated to Philip, the Trump administration is pressing for enactment of a $1 trillion stimulus package for some businesses. The administration is also advocating $50 billion for hard-hit airlines facing bankruptcy. Here in Ghana, the Tourism Authority says it is also working on a stimulus package for some of the players within the hospitality industry. This follows some shocks and revenue losses that have hit some of the players in this space as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19. Chief Executive of the authority, Akwesi Agyemang, has been speaking with Aboagye-Wiafe.
Hoteliers, airlines, tour operators, and everybody is telling us the impact that they are facing in their subsector, if I should put it that way. And what we are trying to do with the data is to put it together and then present it to the Ministry of Finance, central government, on ways that we can mitigate. But so far the situation looks pretty bad. I mean, we've had load factors on airlines dropping to beyond below 40%. It used to be 60, 70. Hotels are telling us that the occupancy is dropping from around 65 to 70 to 20% and all that. That really much is what is happening. And it's not the first time such things happen. When Ebola happened, when SARS, when there was the Iraqi war, the industry is a very sensitive industry, and as much as anything globally happens, it affects us. And so we have seen it, and we believe that once we get the data, we'll make a case with recommendations to central government. How do we mitigate? How can we support we are pretty much sure that we will be able to get this.
What form would this support be? Is it form of release or what, in terms of to help these operators in the hospitality industry?
I think it will be a hybrid. In some cases, probably those are not things that we can promise, but we can make recommendations to the relevant authorities. But like, for example, airlines are telling us they pay parking fees at the airport.
Well, meanwhile, President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Nyameke Jr., says such a stimulus package by government is very crucial, as some hotels are on the verge of collapse because of the occupancy problem that has arisen from the COVID-19 outbreak. He was sharing his thoughts with Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe on the marketplace.
If you look at, say, VAT, come this month ending, hotels will be chased for their value-added tax for February. Okay, they will also be chased for Environmental Protection Agency license fees, Food and Drugs Authority license fees. All those fees will come chasing you. Okay, we are also talking about electricity. Is it possible that a directive could be given? Can we suspend payment of VAT for now?
Maybe it is a good time to press home that demand because of this coronavirus.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Can we suspend, say, payment of VAT for this period?
Okay, so that
can we reduce the electricity and water rates? Okay. Can we reduce it? Can we also suspend this payment of 1% tourism levy, payment of this EPA license? Can we suspend some of these things? Okay. Well, we know that the government itself will also go through challenging times, as we are all going through. They will. Okay, so liquidity will become a problem. So we are not really asking for pumping money into the hotels per se, even though that is also an option to provide some interest-free loans to them to survive the period.
Okay. So I want to ask, so should government come out to say now it's extending 50 billion CD, stimulus package? What exactly are you going to do now? Because whether you like it or not, the coronavirus is still in place.
For me and for the association, one of the biggest challenges we are facing now, which is even so hurting, is our workers. What are we going to do with our workers? What are we going to do with all those direct and indirect employees that we have? Is it possible that that kind of support could at least hold these workers for that period? Okay, so that the hotel doesn't have to pay for those salaries, but government steps in and say, okay, let me look at the figures here. Let me support the hotels to pay the salary. We are in challenging times, so we don't have to ask for 100% salary, but maybe a certain percentage that will keep body and soul together. That's one area. And then we could also use that to fund some of the activities. Because, you see, the thing is that the occupancy brings in money to fund other activities of the hotel. So when the basic inflow is not coming, even this food thing that I said, they could cook it and sell it to external, where's the money to do that? So that kind of money could help.
Now, air cargo volumes at the Kotoka International Airport have witnessed a dip following the outbreak of the coronavirus. This was revealed by cargo operators Swissport and Aviance when the Minister of Aviation, Kofi Adda, inspected the facilities to ascertain preparedness of cargo handlers in the wake of the outbreak. Now, some cargo operators say although cargo volumes have declined from the beginning of the year, the recent travel restrictions have worsened the situation. Chris Goodsir is country manager of Swissport. He spoke to Sheila Tamaklo in this report.
The travel restriction that was introduced by governments basically limited non-Ghanaian citizens who were coming from endemic regions from coming into the Ghanaian jurisdiction. But today we are here at the cargo side at the airport to find out what also is happening in terms of cargo and goods coming from any of these areas into the country.
We have positioned temperature readers, so everyone walking into the warehouse, there is only one entrance. They will have their temperature checked every time that they come into the warehouse. They will also be security searched in line with the national security protocols. Our staff and relative employees at the ramp have been issued with masks, effective PPEs, gloves. We have cleaners on station cleaning all surfaces every couple of minutes as well. Certain doors have been opened with security present as well, so that no one touches the door handles, because that is another way of showing and transmitting the COVID-19. From an operational perspective, we are continuing with our ops. We have no impact as yet with regards to our operations. We are doing everything we can within our power to safeguard the operations as much as possible. Obviously, with the flights cancelling, it does bring into question our operations. It does bring into question the revenue coming into Ghana as well. We have got measures in place to combat that. I need to make it perfectly clear, we are doing everything within our power as a company to safeguard the employment of the staff. That is our number one concern.
We're getting goods from China.
From Australia?
No, really. China, America, UK, and those places.
But it's gone down now?
Generally, the whole year, the cargo, incoming cargo has been very low.
If we took the quantum of goods that have come in, would you say what has been coming from China, Italy as examples? Would you say those numbers have gone down? Do we have evidence of that? Or
yes, it's gone down, because we are almost down with about 40 flights a week since the pandemic. And 40 flights a week is a huge volume.
How many flights do you get a week? Cargo, roughly?
No, almost all the passenger flight comes with cargo. We are operating, we have about 2 to 10% cargo coming in with freighters. The rest of them, the 90% is all by the passenger flights.
Besides passengers being affected, that is passenger numbers dropping, clearly checks here indicates that cargo has also dwindled in the wake of the coronavirus epidemic. However, the measures so far in place appear to be satisfactory.
I think measures are fairly in place in the manner that we expect to be. I'm particularly happy with the employee education programs and what they should do before they get in and while they're working. I'm a little unhappy about the crowding. We talk about having people in one location, not being more than some 20 or so. But I saw in one of the customers' outfits where we have more than 20 people. So that's something we have to communicate back to them to make sure that they reduce the number that can congregate in any particular location. Everything about personal protective equipment, about public education programs, about hand washing, about the sanitizers and what have you, including even the cargo that's coming in, is really comforting to know that nothing has been detected so far, and that the port health people are working with the cargo management stakeholders to ensure that everything is under control.
Reporting for Joy Business, my name is Sheila Tamaklu.
All right, that's it for Business Live tonight. My name is Daryl Carl. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. There you go. And we'll be back same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching.